time to get rid of this swine. Yes, mine. My mind is tired of seeing visions of people getting killed.
And you bring me rumors and conjecture.
I started with nightmares, rumors, conjectures. That's a giant leap forward.
Nightmares that...
The CIA developed a mind control program called MK Ultra. The CIA's main objective in creating this program was to create perfect agents. Agent provocateurs, provocatrices, and or assassins who would follow and carry out commands without the ability to refuse these commands, even if it meant that the agent had to act against his or her own best interests, safety, morals, or spirituality. Even if the command was to commit suicide or even kill a loved one. In the original movie, The Manchurian Candidate, an excellent example of the level of mind control attained by the CIA was portrayed on screen. Check it out.
Documents clearly show that the CIA was attempting to develop agents over whom they had as much control as possible. Agents who would perform tasks contrary to their own good.
Normally conditioned American who's been trained to kill and then to have no memory of having killed. His brain has not only been washed, as they say, it has been dry cleaned.
Is a Manchurian candidate, controlled by others to do things against his will, possible?
I would say the answer is yes, but there are many qualifications to that.
Dr. Milton Klein, a psychologist, a clinical and experimental hypnotist, and unpaid consultant to the CIA.
The qualifications would be the subject selected to produce the kind of behavior that you wish, the amount of time, the procedures that are utilized, and the motivations of the people who are designing, executing, and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced, coerced, persuaded, shaped to perform an antisocial act, or a destructive act, or an act of violence. My answer would be yes.
Captain Marco, will you be good enough to lend Raymond your pistol, please? Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Ben.
Sure, kid. Shoot Bobby, Raymond. Through the forehead.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of us are more familiar with the remake of The Manchurian Candidate, in which Denzel Washington played the leading role. It was released in 2004.
Invasive. See, they were in my head. And they made me... Well, Raymond Shaw, they made him kill somebody. Like it was nothing. Private Robert Baker. That's who it was, his private, one of my soldiers. I think they made me kill somebody too. A kid named Eddie Ingram.
Private Ingram, stand up. Walk a few steps, please. And if you could secure the door, please, Chris. Captain Marco, stand up. Raymond.
Yes, sir.
There's a gun on the cupboard. Would you please take it and give it to Captain Marco?
Yes, sir.
Here.
Captain.
Oh!
Captain Marco, please shoot Private Ingram. Now, Raymond, suffocate Private Baker. Kill him. Keep going, Raymond.
In the event that you are tempted to view mind control as something that is possible only in a science fiction movie like The Manchurian Candidate, let me edify you. In a 1977 United States Senate hearing on MK Ultra, Stansfield Turner, the then director of the CIA, testified about the activities of the CIA with respect to MK Ultra experiments. Here's an excerpt from the actual video footage of that hearing.
We are not professing to tell you the complete story of these activities. We are professing to tell you the complete story that we know. Right. But these records that we've uncovered don't tell the story. They tell pieces of it. This is the story.
Now, as most of us who have been born and raised in the United States and other countries with common sense know, when the government is caught red-handed in wrongdoing, they will never disclose to you all of the details. We all know what the words "that's classified" mean, don't we? Stansfield Turner was more than likely following orders to only reveal a small portion of the full gamut of the CIA's MK Ultra activities. Those of us with common sense also know that the CIA and other relevant branches of the government continue to experiment with and implement mind control techniques and strategies and operations whenever it suits them. Besides, there is plenty of documented evidence which proves this is so.
This report I received today is a monumental document in more ways than one. But it is a very, very important piece of America's history, and it will shape America's future in ways that will make us a more honorable, more successful, and more ethical country. What this committee learned, I would like to review today with a little more detail than Dr. Faden said, because I think it must be engraved on our national memory. Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. While most of the tests were ethical by any standards, some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment, and that was wrong. So today, on behalf of another generation of American leaders and another generation of American citizens, the United States of America offers a sincere apology to those of our citizens who were subjected to these experiments, to their families, and to their communities. When the government does wrong, we have a moral responsibility to admit it. The duty we owe to one another to tell the truth and to protect our fellow citizens from excesses like these is one we can never walk away from. Our government failed in that duty, and it offers an apology to the survivors and their families, and to all the American people who must be able to rely upon the United States to keep its word, to tell the truth, and to do the right thing. Make no mistake, as the committee report says, there are circumstances where compensation is appropriate as a matter of ethics and principle. I am committed to seeing to it that the United States of America lives up to its responsibility. Our greatness is measured not only in how we so frequently do right, but also how we act when we know we've done the wrong thing, how we confront our mistakes, make our apologies, and take action. That's why this morning I signed an executive order instructing every arm and agency of our government that conducts, supports, or regulates research involving human beings to review immediately their procedures in light of the recommendations of this report and the best knowledge and standards available today, and to report back to me by Christmas.
I would say that most government agencies concerned with intelligence operations have been looking to hypnosis as a tool for a variety of purposes, one of which is to carry out and to execute certain intelligence operations on a basis where they would not have to rely completely on some of their own emotional reactions. Actually,
would that entail murder?
It could, if you consider that an act of killing someone under circumstances of war is murder. I think one has to define what that means.
Under circumstances of peace.
Under circumstances of peace, it would be murder.
Another former CIA agent says that Fidel Castro at one time was considered as a possible target for a Manchurian candidate.
Castro was naturally our discussion point. Could you get somebody gung-ho enough that they would go in and get him? But if you have 100% control of a guy, you have 100% dependency. If something happens and you haven't programmed it in, you've got a problem.
As we can clearly see from the last clip, Castro was once considered by this government to be a target that could be attacked by a Manchurian candidate, MK Ultra type agent. Still believe this is just fiction or some mere conspiracy theory? Hollywood got the idea for the movie from a book entitled The Manchurian Candidate, which was inspired by the CIA's MK Ultra program. Castro was considered to be impossible to get to back then. But at one point, so was Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, and others. You can bet that the CIA continued its MK Ultra experimentation, transforming MK Ultra into a fully operational, well-oiled, weaponized machine. A weapon it used in missions to take down targets that would otherwise be quite unreachable. Electroshock treatment on humans, experimentation with many types of drugs, and administering said drugs, such as LSD, to unwitting people, post-hypnotic suggestions, rape of adult and child, male and female subjects, were the primary strategies the CIA used in the development of MK Ultra agents, provocateurs, and provocatrices. In this video, you will discover the CIA planned to impose these strategies on the American public and did in fact spawn the hippie drug culture. Kind of sounds like the flooding of the black communities with crack cocaine.
Millions of dollars would be spent on LSD research at universities throughout the country, and word would begin to spread on campus about this so-called mind-blowing drug. And suddenly, there was the counterculture of the 60s.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Dr. Timothy Leary, the 1960s Johnny Appleseed of LSD.
The CIA funded and supported and encouraged hundreds of young psychiatrists to experiment with this drug.
Out of the many drugs the CIA used for experimentation, LSD was the most powerful and effective drug the CIA used for the purposes of mind control. They used it to break through the mind's defenses, rendering the mind susceptible to suggestions and or commands. This hallucinogenic drug created such turmoil in the mind that a person under its influence had no true sense of reality. That person's reality would be dismantled and then recreated by the CIA.
When James Thornwell was given LSD by Army intelligence in 1961, this time it was no experiment. This time the express purpose was to peel back Thornwell's brain to bear any secret within it. This time the Army had gone operational. Thornwell, as reported on ABC last January, was an Army private stationed in Orléans, France. Classified documents were missing from his unit. Thornwell became a suspect. His 2.5-month interrogation included administration of sodium pentothal, hypnosis, isolation, and deprivation of sleep. Army documents obtained by ABC News refer to this interrogation as conventional. Despite this severe questioning, Army intelligence was getting nowhere with Thornwell, and it was decided to slip him LSD. For 16 years, Thornwell never knew what had hit him.
Tell me about the acid.
I'd rather not. It's a bad trip. It's a bad trip. That was a bad trip. The pain was so excruciating. Felt like somebody was sticking me with 1,000,000 pins. You know, just everywhere. Oh, it just...
You want to stop for me?
I walked around.
You want to stop?
Oh, I can talk. I lived through it. I lived through it. I lived through it.
No charges were ever brought by the Army against Thornwell. He was discharged for psychological disorders. But an Army psychiatric evaluation of Thornwell obtained by ABC News, one which was done prior to Thornwell having been given LSD, says of him, fairly cooperative, oriented, alert, and gave no evidence of psychosis or depression. From the Army's point of view, this type of LSD interrogation was a success. Other documents refer to the exploitability of interrogation subjects, cracking them, keeping them off balance mentally, and providing an economical, speedy, and productive aid to interrogation. From James Thornwell's point of view, it was no success. Thornwell still has serious problems. He's run through 2 marriages. He maintains he can't hold a job, can't concentrate, has nightmares, and feels socially and emotionally isolated.
Are you okay?
I have these dreams, sir. Dreams? Yes, sir. Well, we had it pretty rough over there. A long time ago, memory shift.
But do you have dreams, sir?
Everybody has dreams, Corporal.
No, not these.
No, I don't.
LSD was a major tool that the CIA used to induce suicidal thoughts in people's minds and to make them commit suicide. LSD facilitates the breaking down of the mind and the subsequent reprogramming of that mind. Undoubtedly, the CIA has become more proficient at using the drug for the purpose of mind control throughout the years.
The best-known case is that of this man, Frank Olson, a chemist employed by the Army Chemical Corps, who in 1953 was slipped LSD unknowingly at a meeting with CIA officials. Shortly after that, Olson went into severe depression. He ended his life at this New York hotel by diving through a shaded closed window in his 10th floor room. Frank Olson was the first known fatality in the CIA's LSD program.
Dr. Ewan Cameron, known as D. Ewan Cameron or Ewan Cameron, was a Scottish-born psychiatrist who served as president of the Canadian Psychiatric Association, American and World Psychiatric Associations, the American Psychopathological Association, and the Society of Biological Psychiatry during the 1950s. Dr. Cameron pioneered the psychic driving and de-patterning procedures, which he employed in tandem to erase a person's natural personality and replace the person's natural personality with as many artificially created multiple personalities as he saw fit. Dr. Cameron was funded by and worked within the fold of the CIA's MK-Ultra program.
In 1957, the CIA begins funding the work of Canadian psychiatrist Dr. Ewan Cameron after reading about his new and radical brand of psychotherapy.
You would basically put somebody to sleep with drugs for many, many, many days, give them massive doses of electric shock therapy, literally hundreds of times the normal dosage, and basically you would reduce the person literally to a vegetable. And the idea clinically was you would wipe out either delusions or depression or psychiatric symptoms, and then when the person came back to their normal self, which would take months and months and months, the psychiatric symptoms would be gone.
This kind of clinically induced amnesia is of special interest to the CIA. Dr. Cameron agrees to take his treatment one step further. In addition to de-patterning his client, he would attempt to re-pattern in new thoughts and behaviors.
The CIA funded this experiment because if you could take a person who was an enemy agent, erase that personality and put in a new personality, you have a convert.
At the CIA's instigation, Cameron devises a three-step brainwashing experiment.
The three parts consisted of, first, what he called de-patterning, which was the use of LSD and intensive electroshocks. So that's phase one, is wiping the slate clean. Second was trying to program in new patterns of behavior by playing tape-recorded messages hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times. The final phase was a 2 to 3 week period where Cameron would put patients to sleep using barbiturates to try to suppress any recollection of what had been done to them.
The CIA experimented with and perfected the insertion of micro implants into the brain to activate a zombie-like mental state ripe for the purposes of mind control. While in this zombie-like trance, the unwitting subject is compelled to perform all manner of tasks for the government's interests, including assassinations, infiltrations of political and other social groups of people, promotion of immorality, gender wars, homosexuality, population control, destruction of the family unit, unhealthy eating habits, and other self-destructive behavior are all carried out via Hollywood, record companies, production of pornography through the manipulation of mind-controlled slave actors and actresses, news media personnel, talk show hosts, musicians, and the likes, who are adept at utilizing their hypnotic stage presence and charisma to influence and control the people's minds by acting out carefully designed scripts. Hold on to your hats, for we shall not stop here by any chance. We are flying deeper into the matrix. Let's go.
You'll feel a little cold as this anesthetic gel goes on. Probe sheath and probe. Please relax. Are you relaxed, Raymond?
Yes, sir.
Now, Raymond, I'm going to drill a tiny hole in the skull, which will allow delivery of the new implant. So what you'll feel is a little discomfort in the form of pressure and also a loud vibrating noise in your head, all of which, of course, is completely normal. course, as soon as this or any task is completed, you will already have forgotten that it ever actually took place. Probe going in now. As good. Excellent. Releasing implant. There, that wasn't so bad, was it, Raymond?
No, sir.
It's good. No decay, no slippage. Everything seems to be in flawless working condition.
Other experiments were not as conventional. Neurophysicist Dr. Jose Delgado was financed by the Office of Naval Research. In this experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal. Recently released CIA documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
But how close are we to actual mind control?
Is it possible that hackers of the future could somehow manage to peek inside our own heads? Yes.
The barrier between science and science fiction is all but evaporated.
It's a power ripped right from the pages of comic books. Perhaps the most famous fictional character with this remarkable skill is Professor X, founder and leader of the X-Men. Using his power of telepathy, he can read, control, and influence people's minds at will. Hollywood had another take on mind control. The 1962 film The Manchurian Candidate raised the specter of a remote-controlled soldier who was brainwashed by his communist captors during the Korean War. After returning home, is an unwitting assassin programmed to kill a U.S. presidential candidate. The brain's complexity dwarfs that of any existing computer. There are approximately 100 billion nerve cells, or neurons, in the human brain, almost as numerous as the stars in the Milky Way. Each of these cells has a negative electrical charge inside the cell and a positive charge along the outside of the cell membrane, in essence creating a tiny electric battery. Think of it as the brain's software, the world's most sophisticated search engine.
Inside our heads, the nerve cells are all engaged in kind of a telephone-like conversation, one speaking to the next, and as the information is going through, each neuron is listening to all of its neighbors, giving rise to more and more complicated signal processing inside our brains.
But the first critical step to cracking the code of how the brain processes information is being able to listen in on these millions of telephone-like conversations all taking place at once. Believe it or not, as information passes through the brain, the electrical impulses between neurons can be heard. This is the actual sound of a brain neuron firing. So in a way, we can literally hear thoughts. But how do we translate those sounds so we know what the person is thinking? At Brown University, they are working with tiny computer chips that can be implanted into the brain to transmit neuron impulses to a computer for mind-reading interpretation. It's like connecting your iPod to a computer and downloading music. Scientists can now connect your brain to a computer. Their goal is to help the mentally impaired.
So this is the next generation sensor system.
Dr. John Donahue is director of the Institute for Brain Science at Brown University. He's developed a remarkable piece of technology that can hardwire our brain to a computer.
It consists of the same electrode array, the baby aspirin-sized 100 electrode array that goes into just the surface of the brain.
This tiny chip monitors 100 different neurons as they fire. The firing pattern is displayed on this grid.
These spikes these electrical impulses that come up. We know that's a language of the brain, a rapid communication system for the brain.
What if there was a machine that could crack this code and interpret what these spikes mean? There is. It's called BrainGate, and it was developed by Dr. Donahue. The way it works is that the tiny chip he's holding in his hand can be implanted in a person's brain. The chip picks up electrical impulses, which specially designed software then interprets as the actions a person wants to perform. Essentially, the chip can read a person's thoughts, much like a computer can recognize a voice and interpret what it is saying. In one of the rare times ever tested on TV, Dr. Donahue has set up an experiment to demonstrate the remarkable ability of BrainGate. He places the chip on his scalp and takes a seat in front of a computer that's been loaded with the BrainGate software. An arm, simulating Dr. Donahue's arm, appears on the screen. Also appearing is a ball. The challenge? Using only his thoughts, Dr. Donahue will attempt to control the arm to reach for the ball and move it. These are real-time images of the electrical impulses firing inside Dr. Donahue's brain as the chip listens in on his thoughts. His mind is asking the arm to move. After a few moments, the arm obeys. It slowly glides across the screen, reaches for the ball, and gently moves it. Amazingly, Dr. Donahue has moved the arm simply by willing it.
And there's an old expression for overcoming less than desirable situations: mind over matter. And for 23-year-old quadriplegic Ian Burkhart, that's exactly what had to be done. Burkhart became paralyzed after a 2010 diving accident, but now Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center has just had a breakthrough discovery that may help many quadriplegics across the globe. They were able to get Ian Burkhart to move his hand with the power of thought. Doctors, neuroscientists, and engineers from Battelle were able to implement cutting-edge technology by installing a chip directly into Ian's brain. Dr. Ali Reza installed the chip in the area of the brain that controls the movement of the hand. Engineers at Battelle developed software, algorithms, and a sleeve which transmits thoughts and neurons from the brain directly into the arm in less than 1/10 of a second. The signals are then taken from the chip and bypass the injury in the spinal cord, linking the signals directly to the muscles in the arm. Other technologies used in the past have been robotics, exoskeletons, or computers to move muscles, but this is the first using just the power of thought. Pretty cool.
Now it's time to talk about brain implants. You see, computers and brains do similar things, but they go about it in a very different way. So if we can get brains and computers to communicate more easily, we could see a quantum leap in human intelligence. And we've already made some progress. Paralysis patients with brain implants have been able to control robotic prostheses. And get this, in 2012, researchers with USC and Wake Forest made a brain implant for the cerebral cortex of rhesus monkeys. They taught the monkeys how to play a picture-matching puzzle game.
Then they gave the monkeys drugs that diminished their performance.
They then activated the implants. The implants stimulated the part of the monkey's brain that was activated whenever it made a correct choice. And they saw that the lost mental acuity was regained. Now granted, most of this research is all about recapturing brain function that's been lost. It's not about amplifying what we already have. But in the future, we could see this technology boosting our intelligence and giving us new choices. Like, you want to be a great scientist? Well, let's just turn down the part of the brain that's in charge of confirmation bias. Or you just want to be a better human being? Let's boost that altruistic behavior.
I was an FBI agent for 27.5 years. At the time of my retirement, I was the senior special agent in charge of the FBI Los Angeles Division. I have been qualified in the courts as an expert on cults and satanic ritual abuse. I have information from various sources that judges, law enforcement, prosecutors, attorneys, doctors, and many, many prominent individuals, including actors, actresses, professional football and baseball players, are involved in these type activities. If you go back 225 or 30 years ago, you have what we call the Illuminati that was established in 1776. And the goals of the Illuminati, this is all very well documented, are to take over the world. One of the best ways of taking over the world is to control people's minds and to take over a country through the control of the minds. So what's happening in America, and based on my research and my interviews with numerous individuals, is that the powers that be, the higher-ups, the people in the Illuminati, are using the satanic cults as a means and as a tool to condition individuals and to make them victims of the mind control, MK Ultra mind control program. There's probably close to 4 million practicing Satanists in the United States alone, based on my intelligence information.
I was used in CIA black budget operations, many of them of a military nature. I was a mind control victim in these same black budget operations, and I was used as a propagandist by the CIA.
Raymond? What? No, wait.
Hang on a second.
What? Raymond? Are you there?
Yes.
Sergeant Shaw.
Who is this?
Sergeant Raymond Shaw.
Yes?
Raymond Prentice Shaw.
Yes.
Listen. Go to the bedroom of your suite. Enter the hallway there. Go to the end and open the closet.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. Will someone do the junior high hug dance? It's like this. You gotta make it real awkward.
That's exactly how
you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the...
You don't think they saw this coming, Ben? You don't think they factored you in? I am the enemy, Major Marco.
What are you talking about?
Yes, Mother. Yes, he's right here. She wants you.
Me? Yes, Senator.
Is this Captain Marco?
Yeah.
Captain Bennett Marco?
Yes.
Bennett Ezekiel Marco?
Yes.
Listen.
Official U.S. policy has consistently regarded Tibet as a part of China, although an autonomous region within China. We have no evidence at this point that the Chinese government is engaged in any policy or in any actions aimed at wiping out the Tibetans, or in short, reflecting a policy of genocide either against the Tibetan people themselves or against their culture.
At one point in this interview, we see that his mind control programming breaks down.
What about self-determination for Tibetans?
Mother, there's something I have to tell you.
What?
I've been having the dreams. Ben said there were tests they could run to see if...
No, where are you going? Sergeant Shaw.
What?
Sergeant Raymond Shaw.
Mother,
Raymond Prentice Shaw.
Yes.
Listen.
Skeptics felt there was something terribly wrong with the official story and the way the media reported it, with the way the parents acted. With the way the coroner acted.
The CIA is carrying out mind control on countless numbers of unwitting American victims. And he even went so far as to say the basic methods that they use in this mind control: hypnosis, drugs, and torture.
In covertly recorded off-air transmissions from the Bush-Clinton presidential election campaign in the 1990s, we can see that Bill Clinton was nothing more than a puppet to the puppet masters which placed him in the White House. Bill Clinton's demeanor seems to be similar to a person who is under a hypnotic trance.
It's like, I love him. Can't do anymore. Let me do some more. Let me do some more. I'm gonna do some more final touch. Call. We done all call all today. Today.
If we start at the back of the brain, we've switched off my visual cortex, so made me unable to see things. If we move a little bit forward in the brain, we've interfered with people's ability and my ability to see faces. A little bit further forward, we've interfered with the ability to perform actions. Start moving your finger. Quite odd. It's not your finger anymore. It's not my finger anymore. We've interfered with the ability to compute with numbers. 6, 7, 8. Okay. Ooh, yeah. Yes. We've interfered with the ability to speak. Land the bridges, land the bridge, land the bridges falling down. You think of something you can do, and we've basically interfered with it with this machine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what's the problem? I don't know.
CBS 2's Serene Branson is live at the Staples Center with highlights and backstage coverage we're seeing for the very first time. Serene.
Well, a very, very heavy rotation tonight. We had a very Darrison, let's go to Terrace Chazen for the head of the pit.
Rock County Bureau at the Janesville Gazette. Thanks, Margot. Well, Wisconsin has officially joined 25 other states in a lawsuit against President Obama's health care reform law. Attorney General J.B. Van Hollen says Wisconsin is the latest state, including Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Ohio, and Wyoming, to join Florida's suit. The states claiming the Exorcist, Saw Unchesracho, and Palais Bringritz by health urgent.
Now, Defense Minister McLeod did confirm today that more than 54 18 fighter jets are spending about as much as 20 and ready to assist the 100 deployed over the amount needed. Now, it did depend that how the NOLAN remerges RN, while the university or the UN mission as whole received support from all batteries in the hues of the garbins of today. Excuse me. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mark McAllister from Japan tonight. Newly released video.
Nedověděli jsme se nic, dá se tedy předpokládat, že odpoledne pravděpodobně budeme úspěšnější. A teď se pojďme podívat na to, co přinesly poslední hodiny na české politické scéně.
I'm sorry. I was in a trance.
Yeah, watch the drool there. I know. Were you looking at the rings or me? I couldn't tell.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a difficult title. It's a good day to die.
But I suppose it's because you had kind of a good day, and if you would have died, well, so be it. Is that it?
That's right. That's a good explanation. Have a sandwich, and let's go shopping.
Yeah.
Die hard.
That would have been your chosen title.
Well, it's about, it makes about as much sense. A good, or maybe there is a good day to die hard.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
You've had a year that would test a lot of people. Illness in the family. A breakup. This spasm of publicity about what happened from Mexico to London.
It was pretty rough, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew, strong Brittany. Yeah, it was a weird. Ew, I'm embarrassed. Can we?
We begin with South Carolina. Hello, South Carolina, please pick out the name of a judge. Thank you. Judge number 5, Amy Teagarden.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Another level of MK Ultra mind control programming is carried out through movies, television and cable network programs, radio broadcasts, musical productions, and various forms of print media, including commercial advertisements. The word sex is hidden in countless photographs, in the footage of countless movies and TV programs, magazine articles, children's comic books, and billboards found all throughout society. Sex is a powerful force used as a magnetic tool to draw in unwitting people to products, advertisement models, and sundry types of propaganda. When you see, subconsciously, the word sex, your subconscious associates the pleasurable feelings that the thought of sex evokes with the model, product, or idea which is being marketed or promoted at the time. If it was not such an amazingly effective marketing tool, these gargantuan companies wouldn't hire major marketing experts wielding degrees in psychology to plan the designs of their advertisement art.
The most well-known experiment dealing with subliminal messaging was conducted by a marketing researcher and psychologist named James Vickery in 1957 during the presentation of the movie Picnic. James Vickery's study of the movie Picnic in 1957 established as a fact that every 5 seconds the words hungry, eat popcorn, drink Coca-Cola were projected on screen for 0.003 of a second. In that New Jersey theater, popcorn and Coca-Cola sales increased 57.8% and 18.1% respectively. Check out the way the word sex is concealed subliminally in the following clips. To be continued.
It's time to open up a book and see what they done to your people. They've been evil beyond your thoughts. You could never come up with the onslaught in your mind that they perpetrated against your kind. It's time to get rid of these swine.